So in this video, you're going to see me making a restaurant or tavern sort of place. I am playing a game with my kids again. We started recently, and the Dungeon Master's Guide for 2024 has been announced, and there's some info slowly coming out about it. And one of the things I read that I was pretty intrigued by was the bastions, or like the headquarters or the base. I've never really done anything like that really for a Dungeons and Dragons party, and so I thought my kids would really enjoy something like that, having something it's like they can take ownership of and work on and build. So I did that, and so I asked them, like, what kind of business do you want to run? What do you want to do? They got finished with their first mission, and their boss gave them enough money to really dig in and start investing, because they're all level 10. We started at level 10. I wanted them to play some high level D&D with my kids and their schedules. You never know when we're going to be able to, or when we're going to have to stop playing. So I wanted them to get some high level stuff in starting right off the bat. So anyway, they decided they wanted to use that money they got from their first mission to create a restaurant. And so they made a restaurant. They each have a job for the restaurant. And so they're doing, one of them, there's a bard, my youngest, he's a bard. His character is in charge of the entertainment. So he's doing entertainment. My daughter, who's a monk, she's in charge of security. So she's hiring the bouncers and people to keep things safe. My other daughter, who's a druid, I think, I can't remember. Oh, anyway, she's in charge of the food and all that, and ordering and all that stuff. And then my son is in charge of my oldest, he's almost 17. He's in charge of schmoozing all the customers and kind of connections and being that guy. So they've all kind of got a role to play. And what's cool is what I've put in there, kind of following what I could find about how the bastions work is, and this isn't by any means saying, hey, here's how bastions work in 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, because I haven't read that yet. I've just got the little bit that has come out about it when I started this. But what I decided is, so I've created a D100 table that tells us what happens in the week that they've been out adventuring or doing something. There's other people running their business. So they roll on that D100 table, and it'll either increase the amount of money that they're making or decrease the amount of money they're making. It'll add problems or things that they could accidentally have to work on and spend money to fix and that sort of thing. Or it'll be something cool like, a bard comes to town and increases your profits because people heard he was coming and whatever. So, the D100 table says all that. So that's cool. The other thing I did is each of their jobs, I gave them a role that they can do at each week, and it'll impact their money, their profits. It'll impact all of that. And so when they roll their D20, it'll tell us, number one, how much money they made, and then they also roll to tell us anything that has happened that impacted their the week on their end. So security could roll and say they had a better time, didn't have any issues, no problems. So any number they roll, that would be a subtraction. They roll a D20, multiply it by 10, and that's how much gold was lost due to theft or whatever. So but you could subtract from that if you roll well on your job or your task for the week or whatever. And then the other thing that I'm working on that I haven't done yet is I'm putting together an idea for things they can buy or purchase, like upgrades to their bastion or to their restaurant. And so they can build these upgrades, and eventually the idea is that it'll give them strategic advantages later on. Maybe they've got an apothecary built in and they can make potions, or maybe they've got a place that they can upgrade their armor or fix armor and weapons and stuff, or I don't know, the sky's the limit really. I'm open to whatever they want to do, but I thought this map would be fun. So to show them, hey, here is your restaurant. They named it. It's called the Chubby Chap. And so they named it the Chubby Chap. They thought it was a really fun idea. They came up with the whole idea of what it is, what they do there, how it all works. And so I thought it was really fun working with them on that. Now as I build this, you'll see I'm making it pretty simple because like I said earlier, that this is the starting part of it. They've adventured, they've gained a name in the town now, the assumption that that's happened since they're level 10. All that has happened. So now they're just cool, like, adventurers who own a business, and they're just getting their feet wet in this business thing. So they'll be able to level up, they'll be able to upgrade and buy things to make their restaurant do better, and they make more money to keep them from having crime and things like that, make them lose money. Maybe they will be able to have buy things that'll upgrade the dice they roll to make profits. It'll all have mechanical ways to impact what they do. And then in the world, they're in a big town, big city called Mistwatch, and anything you could think of, you could pretty much go buy and purchase. So they already have magical weapons and items and access to places to go get those things made and imbued, and they could hire companions and do all kind of stuff. So there's places to spend lots of money, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. I've never done anything like that in a game where my players made a ton of money and really had a way to spend it. I tend to actually lose track a lot of. If you listen to my podcast, The Hired Swords, you'll know they joke a lot about having so much money, but they never do anything that allows them to spend it, because they're in this like apocalyptic, the world's going to end kind of adventure, and the last thing that you do is go shopping. So they've done a little bit of it early on, but they don't really do it anymore. So I'm trying to make it a little more of what's happening in this, because I know my kids will enjoy it. I think they'll really enjoy designing and upgrading this restaurant. That's why I made it a simple rectangle, just several tables. I think I said when I was recording this, it'll seat like 40 people or something. Not even that. I think it's like 36 people it'll seat, and so yeah, they can grow it, make it bigger. There's land on the map that they can grow. I'll also, if they're like, we want to buy a plot of land to add this, then I'll make it happen, no problem. But yeah, the sky's kind of the limit. They can choose to do whatever they want to do. And so I wanted to put together a map for them, just to show them, hey, here's your restaurant. Here's the bare bones. People can come in, buy food and drinks, and enjoy themselves. But that's it. There's nothing else that you're able to do. I got to let my cat out of the room. Silly cat. So yeah, there's not a whole lot else that you can do to do that. So here in Inkarnate, I've built lots of maps on Inkarnate, and I've built several that are on the channel here. You'll see I'm using the watercolor battle maps, and I'm trying to keep it in that theme, the watercolor, because the art style all looks good. The sizing works well to where you have if you buy tables and you keep the size at one number, then when you grab the chairs at the same sizing number, it fits the table, if that makes sense, including the artwork in the background with the grass and the floor and all that stuff. So I use that. I try to keep within the same theme, the watercolor battle maps or watercolor cities, because it seems to work out well, sizing and everything. I also turned on the grid because I use that to help with scaling as I'm building. I'm like, 10 feet, 15 feet, what's what? And the tables are like 8-foot tables. The chairs, one person could sit in there, 5 foot, whatever. The tambourine, would have been a big, 5-foot wide tambourine, which is ridiculous. So that's not realistic. So I knew I needed to shrink that down, as you saw. So right now I'm building the stage. You can see I wanted to make, I have the bard, and he's in charge of entertainment. And if he does really well, then they make more money because more people come in and all that stuff. And so, or if he rolls really poorly, they end up losing money because the entertainer asked for more money than they should have gotten paid and stuff. So, yeah, I also wanted it to look, I wanted to have space on the outside where you see the grass and everything, to where they could add on externally, not even just on the building. I wanted to do that as well. That's why there's so much space in front there. I put them kind of up a hill. I don't know. I thought that was more interesting than that. This is the part on Inkarnate I have the worst time with, and that is kind of blending in and making like the roadways and pathways and everything look good. So I kind of give up on it here part of the way through building this, and then I come back to it later. But you'll see how that ends up. I use a lot of bushes and rocks and trees and grass and stuff to fix that usually. But there I'm using a little wall piece, same as those walls, but I shrunk it down and darkened it so it could be kind of like a threshold in between. Otherwise, that's a weird thing that is common in Inkarnate is when you transition from one texture, I guess, to another. On the painting, when you're painting the textures on, when you transition from one to another, it kind of looks janky there. So I use that to do that. And then I'm building fence around this little porch in the back. I thought it was fun, the idea. I figured in these, like, in the medieval times sort of thing, the ventilation and that sort of stuff wasn't great. You can see there's like a pipe coming from that stove out to the back. And so the cooking a little bit on top of there is probably fine, but like the big pot of boiling whatever, soup or whatever that's in the back, I figured that you needed to have a place outside to cook. And we still have that now, right? We have like barbecue places that they have to do their smoking meat and stuff outside. So similar to that, but in this one, there's a big pot of something on some fire. I ended up putting some benches out there after I kind of clean up the ground, cobblestone, like back porch. And yeah, so I showed my kids this already. My daughters saw it. My older ones haven't, or my older son hasn't. But my kids saw it, and they love it. They think it's neat. So anytime they're just kind of sitting at their restaurant hanging out, I'll just pull this map up on Roll20. We play in the same room together upstairs at our house, and I have the big TV that I just put the maps on, and they tell me what they want to do. And they just, instead of using minis on a table, I have invested in Roll20 and stuff, so I just use that. I have a lot of monsters and stuff available to me, books and things that I have on there. So here you see I'm restarting the ground because I just did not like the way that was looking. I wanted to go a little bit more dirt ground, like earth tone, and so I'm trying to find the right balance between that and kind of the idea of, this isn't something that some community built a road here. Somebody built this tavern and people walk there enough that it starts to wear down the grass and wear everything out to where there's a worn path, not a created road, right? So now I'm trying to make things look a little more natural. I tend to clump up bushes and trees and stuff. They seem to grow in clumps here where I live in Missouri. At least they grow clumped up. They grow kind of together. Like this, mushrooms grow right near and under trees most of the time, and bushes. Stones even fall clumped up. So you'll see me in a little bit here put stones and things on bushes. Everything kind of seems to be like bunched together. You don't just see like things spread out like an orchard, right? So I try to do that and make it look kind of natural, but it's a map and it's not really that big a deal. It's literally to put on a screen for my kids to see while we play D&D. So it's going to be fun. They already like it. I did not design this necessarily to have a battle, but man, it would be very easy to throw the grid on here and say, somebody attacks your bastion, it's time for defense, and maybe they bring in their security guards to help and that sort of thing. So that's something that could happen in the future. Definitely. I also remember when I was filming this, I did film this narrating as I went, but my music was too loud. You couldn't hear me talking. So I do remember, though, talking about the stones and how at that cliff edge there, the cliff wall, we have that here a lot because most of our roads and everything are carved out of the Ozark Mountains and hills. So you have a lot of, there's a lot of rock that just falls at the foot of those cliffs and sits there on the ground. So that's kind of what I was doing, simulating that. Things I've seen for real, kind of making it look like that. So anyway, I think this is about it here. Pretty close to done, but thanks for watching. If you like this, let me know and I can make some more like this. Or if you want to know more about Bastions, I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks a lot.